Well, I'm so excited, and good evening to everybody. Sorry for the technical situation, but if it's a Zoom meeting or something like that, you know there's going to be a problem. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to our Foundation Gala portion of this weekend's district conference. We put together a program for tonight that includes a presentation from our own district scholar, Stacy Estrada. We will have the foundation recognitions, a polio update, and so much more. We will end the evening with our very own PDG Steve Wallace talking about the amazing work our foundation has done over the years. I want to announce that for the entire weekend, we are offering matching points up to 500 for anyone who makes a contribution to the annual fund. It's a great way to get a new Paul Harris. To donate, please tell us in the chat section, and then we'll take it from there. Also, all the money collected through the registration for this weekend will be donated in the district's name to the annual fund. Please take a minute and visit our exhibitors booths. There's lots of good things to see. So now I would like to introduce tonight's host, President of Hemet Rotary, Dan Cortese.
Thank you, District Governor Berry. Good evening and welcome to this year's District 5330 Foundation Gala. Our first speaker this evening is Global Grant Scholar Stacy Estrada. Born and raised in Southern California in an area considered disadvantaged, Stacy learned the importance of building resilience and self-confidence as key traits for overcoming obstacles. With over 7 years of training and experience in leadership development, Stacy's specialty is working with young women who came from disadvantaged communities in order to help increase their self-confidence and inspire them to be leaders in their communities. District 5330 selected Stacy as a Global Grant Scholar in 2019 and funded her master's and PhD studies at the Universidad para La Paz in Costa Rica. Today, Stacy is completing her PhD dissertation on the perception of leadership from first-generation Latinas. Stacy holds a BA in International Relations from UC Santa Barbara, an MBA with a focus on management from Concordia University, and an MA with a focus on peace education studies from the Universidad para La Paz. Stacy is currently a doctoral candidate. If you have any questions for Stacy, please put them in the chat, and your questions will be answered following the presentation. Let's all welcome Global Grant Scholar Stacy Estrada.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Stacy Estrada, and I am the Global Grant Scholarship recipient for 2019-2021 for District 5330. I want to thank each of you guys for inviting me to come and speak to you at this lovely gala themed celebration of life. It's an honor to be here with you today. So today I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about my Global Grant Scholar experience. I'm going to share with you a little bit about how I received the Global Grant Scholarship and then just some personal lessons that I learned during this experience. Next slide. So this is some information I gathered. As I was putting together this presentation, I started to consider my personal trajectory and thinking about the things that Rotary has done for me in my personal life. But I'm also going to share with you a little bit about the community that I come from. I know that some of you are familiar with the Coachella Valley. I grew up in Coachella, the city of Coachella. So if you know anything about the city of Coachella, it is listed as, I would say, a disenfranchised city, a city that is in its growth period right now. But when I was in high school at CV, Coachella Valley High School, I noticed a lot of young women didn't have ambitions to go to school. A lot of young women had ambitions to stay in the desert or to raise a family, which was okay. It was fine, but I knew that I had ambitions to travel and to get my education and to ultimately come back to the Coachella Valley and do something for the women here in the Coachella Valley. When I was looking up statistics for this presentation, it shocked me to learn that only 3.2 6% of people in the city of Coachella actually have a bachelor's or higher. So that's a very low percentage for people in Coachella who are educated. And my goal was to help inspire change in that area. I really wanted to get my education, come back, serve the young girls here in the community, and hopefully inspire them to obtain a higher degree education as well. So something that I feel you and I have in common is that we see a need here in our community and we strive to try and make the community a better place. So I'm really proud to be the recipient of the Global Grant Scholar. What Rotary gave me, listed here in my PowerPoint, is ultimately what you also gave to my community. So I want to thank you for that. Next slide. So my area of focus was peace building and conflict prevention. When I applied for the Global Grant Scholarship, I was asked to submit a portfolio. And in my portfolio, I had to explain the area of focus that I wanted to ultimately study and ultimately work toward for my community and for the world. So I chose peace building and conflict prevention. Next slide. So going into what this actually means, it's I shared the definition here directly from the website. Rotary fosters understanding across cultures. We train adults and young leaders to prevent and mediate conflict and help refugees who have fled dangerous areas. It surprised me to learn that over 70 million people are displaced as a result of conflict, violence, persecution, and human rights violations. It surprised me even more to learn that half of them are children. So this is the reason I chose this area. I felt it was an area where I could see myself. I could see my own family, my own relatives who migrated from Mexico to the United States. I saw a lot of myself in the personal struggles that refugees go through in their transition into a new country. So this became my area of focus, and it also became my area of passion. Next slide. So next I had to choose a university. Rotary gave me the opportunity to choose a university of my choice. As a Global Grant Scholar, you can choose any university as long as it's out of the country. So that was my first exciting venture. I did a lot of research. I looked up different schools that I felt would hit all the areas that I was looking to for. I looked for a university that was in a Spanish-speaking country so that I could immerse myself in a Spanish-speaking culture. I looked for a university that would support UN objectives because I was sponsored to go abroad and study in order to help with peace prevention. With peace initiatives. And then I also wanted to be a part of a global community. So ultimately, I chose Universidad para la Paz in Costa Rica. Also, this university, all the students who came to this university, we all were required to speak English. So I didn't have to speak Spanish in school, but outside of school, inside of the city lines, I was able to meet other people and practice my Spanish. So those were the reasons why I wanted to attend this particular university. As a Global Grant Scholar, I felt really excited because I had Rotary supporting me in this institution. A lot of the students that came from different places of the world, I got to share with them what Rotary did for me as a student. I got to share with them the scholarship opportunities that Rotary provided for me. So in turn, they became inspired as well, and they also were interested in becoming a Rotarian. While I was out there, I also got to meet a group of Rotarians, the Costa Rica group, and they invited me to go speak at, it was sort of like a conference like this where I was able to share my experience as a Global Grant Scholar. So that was super exciting and an opportunity I will never forget. Next slide. So here in this picture is my PhD class. If I didn't mention it before, I was actually given a scholarship to get my PhD. This was really exciting because when I first applied for the scholarship, I did read on the website that it was higher education and specifically master's targeted. So I didn't know what that meant. And when I actually applied and I expressed my interest in getting a PhD, District 5330 was in total support, and they gave me the scholarship for 2 years to go ahead and study at Universidad para la Paz. And this is my PhD group. So as you can see, there are people from all over the world. I've built a global network. I've been able to do critical thinking on a global scale. And it's been really exciting because as we get to talk and as we get to converse with one another, I start to see the world in a different way. I start to understand how our decisions here in the United States and a small part of California impact the rest of the world. And that has been pretty life-changing. I wanted to share with you some of my friends that I've got to meet during my time at Universidad para la Paz. Starting from the left-hand side, it's Fareshta, she's from Afghanistan, Mo from Iran, Tiamika from Malawi, Nicole from the United States, Karen from Colombia, Shrishti from India, Salome from the Congo, myself from the US, and Pratush from India. There were other students that were part of my class, but they came later on in the program, and some of them are doing their classes virtually, so we interact from time to time. Next slide. So while I was doing my studies in Costa Rica, there were two projects I was heavily involved in. One was working for a Montessori school, which was a great opportunity to see a different type of education system. So while working for the Montessori school, I worked as a conversationalist, and I was able to help teach students English as well as give them basically the independence on how to learn. I provided tools, we worked together, and they were able to take these tools and make them their own. So this was a very interesting experience. The second project I was a part of, which was somewhat of a secret project. It was called the Humanitarian Assistance Program, pilot program. UN actually funded this program, and it was they pulled me in as a person who was going to create a curriculum for the refugees coming in into this particular program. And what I was supposed to do is use peace education practices along with art to help resolve some of the emotional issues that some of the refugees were going through. It was a heavy task, but it was something that I was really excited to be a part of, and something that I feel definitely changed my life for the better. I was able to create a curriculum with a friend of mine who was also in the program. So we talked about different ways to use art as a way to express yourself, as a way to reconcile the conflict that's within during transition from a conflict zone into a host country. And so we basically started this program. We were able to pilot it. The students had amazing art projects. And then, of course, we did a follow-up where they had to share their experiences and evaluate the program. And it was just amazing how the students responded. And many of them were teenagers. Some of them came without parents to this program. And to see how they came with a scared face, with tension in their face, tension in their heart, and then breaking down those boundaries and able to see them, feel a little bit more safe in this area, feel a little bit more excited about what was going to change. I think that was, to me, the biggest satisfaction of it all, because I helped that. I helped transition that experience for them. And so it was life-changing. Next slide. So what I'm doing today, well, due to the coronavirus, each of the students were asked if they would like to, fly back to their home country. So I decided to come back to California and continue my PhD virtually. So right now I'm in California and I'm working on completing my PhD. I'm in my last year, so it's super exciting. I hope to finish by the end of this year. My PhD is titled Community Leadership and Self-Perception from the Perspective of First-Generation Latinas Using the Narrative Approach. So I came back to my community and I started interviewing women community leaders. And through these interviews, I'm going to collect data and I'm going to present what are some of the challenges and barriers that women are going through today in the Coachella Valley, and how can we overcome those challenges and barriers, and how can we actually make a program for younger girls who are interested in leadership roles, and how can we develop those leadership roles. So that's what I'm currently working on in my studies. And I also got, I'm also happy to announce that I was hired on a contract position for this organization called Latina Vida. And they're actually virtually located in Northern California. And so what I do is I do training, coaching, and presentations for young women who are interested in growing in their leadership roles as well. Next slide. So that's what I do for work. That's the hard part of my day. My passion project is actually working on SDG 4, which is quality education. While I was in Costa Rica, in one of my classes, I met a student. Her name is Young Won. She's from South Korea, and we both, collaborated on a book project. And we were both excited about creating an educational piece that could be used virtually for students around the world. And what we wanted to do, and our basic idea, was to teach basic English and also to create a book where students are not typically in books. We wanted to create a series where students could see themselves in these books. So the goal was to create tolerance, to build tolerance, and to also teach basic English. So these books actually, we created a small series. It's called Global Friends for Peace. You can find it on YouTube. You can search for it there. And then this is a picture of our social media page where we show some of the illustrations. So this is some of the things. These are some of the projects I'm working on that I'm very passionate about. Next slide. So looking ahead, I wanted to share with you guys my goals for the future, because what you guys did for me was you created momentum in my life. You created an opportunity and to be able to explore, to be able to travel, to be able to learn, to be able to see a different perspective, to be able to make a global impact. And with that, I wanted to come home and do something for my community. So looking ahead, my first goal is to work as a trainer, facilitator, and speaker on leadership topics for women of color. That's currently what I'm doing in my role now, and that's something that I definitely want to do more of in the future. My second goal is to inspire peace by continuing to create socially inclusive books and educational material for children around the world. So I do want to continue to partner with creative individuals and create content that can be used virtually or can be used in classroom settings. So that is my second goal. The third goal is to be a leader and a mentor in my own community to students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Obviously, the biggest thing for me is when what you have given to me, I want to give back to young women in my community. So for me, that is always on the top of my list. And if there are opportunities for me to serve or to speak to young women, that is something that I would gladly accept. And finally, goal number 4 is to find a way to use my peace education training to assist refugee status children and adults in their assimilation. So much of the hands-on experience and education that I learned while I was in Costa Rica, I don't want it to go to waste. I want to use it where it's needed. I see that there's a lot of need at the border. I know that there's a big situation where there's migrant children in these detention centers, and I know it's a complicated problem, but I want to use my education to help serve those individuals. Next slide. So finally, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for everything that you've done. You impacted my life on so much grander than I can express in these 20 minutes. And if I can share with you just 3 lessons that I learned during this time, during my 2 years of travel, during the global grant experience, and also through my research through the Latina leaders here in the Coachella Valley. 3 lessons that I learned is, number 1, identify your 3 core values and live by them each day. This is something that before I left to Costa Rica, I identified. I want to live as a person who's loving, a person who has integrity, and a person who's generous. And every day I challenge myself by living by those 3 values. So I want to encourage that you choose your 3 values and you live by those each day. Number 2, practice self-resilience every day in small ways. And over time, this will increase your self-confidence. So every day, today, this is my opportunity to practice self-resilience. Public speaking is not the thing that I am naturally talented in, but it's something that I feel that it is needed for, to share with you. I want other people to know what an impact Rotary is. And if this inspires you to continue serving students, then I've used my voice wisely. And number 3, use your voice as a tool and use it wisely. So there's so many things that could be said, use it wisely. And your voice is a tool. This is something that I'm learning, and this is something that I'm trying to cultivate. So because of you, future generations are going to have a testimony like myself. And so for that, I want to thank you. And finally, I want to leave you with this quote from the Dalai Lama. World peace must develop from inner peace. Peace is not just mere absence of violence. Peace is, I think, the manifestation of human compassion. So thank you so much for your generosity, for your compassion, and for all that you do for your community. If you'd like to connect with me, I do have my contact information here. If you're interested in the projects that I'm doing, please follow me on LinkedIn. Please connect with me, and we can discuss more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy, for that wonderful presentation. We have a few minutes for Stacy to answer questions from the chat. Let's welcome from the Rotary Club of Beaumont Cherry Valley, Elizabeth Gibbs, to facilitate those questions.
Thank you, Stacy, very much. You're a very impressive young lady. We have just a few minutes to spend with you to ask you a few questions, if that's okay with you. There are some comments in our chat room, and one of them is, we are very proud of you. I want to be your cheerleader. Great presentation from your heart, and great quote. It resonates with one of our Rotarians, and thank you for your presentation. I have just a couple questions I want to ask. Can you elaborate a little bit on the specifics of the art project that you did in Costa Rica? Can you give us some examples of what the teenagers did?
Yeah, I really wish I could have showed pictures because they were so beautiful. But because the project was somewhat of I don't want to call it a secret, but it was for their protection that we weren't allowed to share any of the projects, any of the names, even the true name of the project. It was for that reason that I couldn't show any of the projects that they did. But some of the ones that come to mind are during the holidays, right before New Year's, this was around December, we did a project where we worked on assembling a friend. And so we took a lot of material that was donated to us, and we had each teenager create their friend. What does their best friend look like? Who is their best friend? So in the process of this, we put a few questions on the board, and we just asked them, consider these things while you're working on your project. Then we're going to have you come up to the class and share with us a little bit about what it means to be a friend, what it means to have a friend. And it was actually a very emotional project for them, because a lot of these students left their best friends behind. And we didn't anticipate how emotional it would be. But as they were speaking and as they were looking at their talking piece, they were sharing with us, the things that they remember of their friend, the things that they want to be as a friend, and the things that they're hoping to find in a friend when they move to a different country. So for me, that was a very impactful project for them. It helped them to release some of the tension that was already built up within them regarding leaving their friends behind. So that was one of the projects, but so many more that I could share with individuals.
Well, thank you. And with that, it looks like we are out of time. I would like to thank you again. And Dan, back to you.
Thank you once again, Stacy, for that amazing presentation. Next, I would like to welcome our District Rotary Foundation Chair from the Rotary Club of Paris, Steve Yeager.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. District 5330 Rotarians have a unique way to distinguish themselves amongst their Rotary peers by becoming a member of the Triple Crown program. To qualify for the Triple Crown recognition, Rotarians must be a current member of the Paul Harris Society, be at least a Level 1 Bequest Society donor, and be at least a Level 1 Major Donor or Level 1 Arch Clump Society member. New Triple Crown donors are recognized at the Foundation Gala that follows the end of the Rotary org year that they become eligible. I am excited, awed, and humbled to announce the 2019-2020 Triple Crown inductees. Paul Bateman from the Rotary Club of Menifee, Joe Daly, Rotary Club of Indio Sunrise, past District Governor Dr. Helene Kalfas, Rotary Club of Palm Springs, Lad Seekins, Rotary Club of Colton, past District Governor Rudy Westervelt, Rotary E-Club of World Peace, District Governor nominee designate Jeannie Zinn, Rotary Club Lake Arrowhead Mountain Sunrise. Let's give them all a round of applause. Triple Crown inductees. There were 5 Triple Crown inductees from Rotary org year 2018-19 that did not receive their recognition yet. They are Joe Leguess, Rotary Club of Rancho Mirage, Joseph and Patsy Manor, Rotary Club of Rancho Mirage, Alan Orr, Rotary Club of Temecula, and his wife Patsy Orr with the Rotary Club of Murrieta, and Susan Wakefield, Rotary Club of Corona Circle City. I will be in contact with all new inductees to arrange delivery of your certificate of recognition as well as your Triple Crown donor pin. And just so that you know, at the end of the Rotary year 2019-2020, District 5330 boasts 21 Triple Crown donors. Thank you all for your selfless generosity.
Thank you, Steve, for acknowledging our district's Triple Crown members. Next, I would like to welcome our District Polio Plus Chair from the Rotary Club of Cathedral City, Laura Ahmed.
Thanks. Any successful endeavor in Rotary begins with the district governor's backing. The Polio Plus campaign was slated for success this year since it began with Governor Barry and his Polio Plus ride to Laughlin, Nevada. Then I had the honor to be the guest speaker at Polio Plus at many of your clubs. Some gave a portion of their DDF to support the cause. Some others joined the Polio Plus Society and received a certificate, a pin, a wristband for your efforts. As a founding partner for the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, Rotary has reduced polio cases by 99.9% since our first project to vaccinate children in the Philippines began in 1979 to now, to where the latest statistics tell us there's been 1 case in Pakistan and 1 case in Afghanistan to date worldwide. Many said Rotary would never reach its goal to eradicate this scourge. However, we can now optimistically look forward to the day when we can say, we did it. We've eliminated polio. However, after so many years of trial and error, RI and its partners, one being the World Health Organization, WHO, have a winning formula on how to solve the problems of cross cultures, languages, geographical locations, and politics. Rotary and WHO used what they have learned to fight polio and applied that knowledge advantageously to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, the beneficiary countries had less devastating effects from the pandemic. Please note that once there is no longer reported cases of polio in the world, there'll still be a need for vaccinations, particularly for newborns, for healthcare workers who give the inoculations to help clean water, sanitation are continued to be provided, or to supply wheelchairs to those that have been affected by polio. Your kind and caring assistance through donations will always be needed. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve as District 5330's Polio Plus Chair, and I've been asked to continue next year. I look forward to your continued support and caring. As a team, we'll continue to make the world a better place. A big thank you to all the individuals and the clubs who've continued either with DDF or supported the motorcycle ride or individually. I look forward again to your kind contributions next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for your update about Polio Plus. We will now take a short 15-minute break. Please take this time to grab a drink, a snack, and use the restroom located conveniently in your own home. We will see you back here in just under 15 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I would like to remind everyone that all foundation contributions donated during this year's virtual event will be matched up to 500 points. To donate, please provide your donation amount and information in the chat section. I would now like to reintroduce our District Rotary Foundation Chair, Steve Yeager.
Thanks, Dan. What a crazy year 2020 turned out to be, with the COVID-19 pandemic shutting down the world, which happens to be the stage for Rotary International. But you know, that didn't stop District 5330 Rotarians from doing what they do, and that's making a difference. Tonight we celebrate you, the accomplishments of the Rotarians in District 5330, and recognition of your selfless dedication and giving to support the Rotary Foundation and its mission. Let's get started with this. Have you ever heard of the Rotary Foundation's Distinguished Service Award? The Distinguished Service Award is the Rotary Foundation's highest service recognition and is given to Rotarians who have demonstrated exemplary service to the Foundation. What is unique about the award is what it represents. Trustees of the Rotary Foundation give this award to those Rotarians who have rendered exceptional service to the Foundation beyond the district level for an extended period of time. No more than 50 Distinguished Service Awards are represented each year. Recipients must have received the citation for meritorious service at least 4 years prior to be eligible for this award, which is given only to those who have demonstrated active service. One who has contributed only financially is not considered for this award. There will be a feature article in an upcoming issue of Rotary Magazine announcing that this year, one of our own, a Rotarian from District 5330, has been recognized with the Rotary Foundation's Distinguished Service Award. What an incredible honor, not only for this Rotarian, but for all of District 5330. Let's all give a round of applause to past District Governor Dr. Helene Kaufus, recipient of the Rotary Foundation's Distinguished Service Award. Congratulations. You know, despite all of the closures and cancellations caused by the pandemic, Rotarians in District 5330 have continued to give. I am so proud to present these numbers to you, current as of May 6, 2021. The goal for giving to the annual fund for 2021 is $121,000. The actual that has been given so far to the annual fund, over $233,000, 193% of our goal. For our district, per capita giving is $120. You also achieved 250% of the Polio Plus goal of $17,000. And total giving for 2021 as of May 6 is over $325,000, which is only $90,000 short of last year. Give yourselves a big hand. With some more contributions and the matching points, we may reach that number by June 30th. We had 31 clubs in our district apply for community block grants that totaled just over $58,000. These grants included helping a young man attain his Eagle Scout by helping him renovate a historic California landmark, feeding the underserved, funding scholarships, providing mobile clinics for veterans, dictionaries for third graders, multiple food drives and community dinners and baskets, recognizing first responders, and providing countless COVID-19 relief projects. These projects all funded by the return of your investment in the Rotary Foundation. Great job. We were able to provide the Uganda Maternity Ward Completion Project refund to all clubs, and currently working on the West Shores High School grant, which is also being refunded. I am happy to note that funding from a different source for the West Shores project was secured, and that project will go forward, just not as a Rotary Global grant. As Laura Ahmed mentioned earlier in her Polio Plus update, 16 clubs invested DDF to Polio Plus. District Governor Berry invested 20,000 DDF to Polio Plus by matching club DDF contributions to Polio Plus. A club did invest their DDF in the Global Peace Centers, and we had 40 clubs invest their DDF in global grants totaling more than $155,000 in DDF donations. This includes the Human Trafficking Grant hosted by the Rotary Club of Hemet and benefiting Riverside and San Bernardino counties right here in our own district. District Governor Berry also offered matching foundation recognition points, as he is doing tonight and tomorrow, for our district Rotarians that invest their own dollars in the annual fund share. Over 22,500 points were graciously donated, resulting in the award of at least 28 Paul Harris Fellowships. Thank you, District Governor Berry and the generous points donors. Despite COVID-19, District 5330 gained 6 new major donors and saw 3 additional district Rotarians achieve their next major donor level. More on this later this evening. We were also able to qualify and are waiting to award a $30,000 global scholarship for Lydia Stamper, who will be studying abroad in London. Her area of focus is peace and conflict resolution. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, the vocational training team was canceled for this year. Hopefully, we will be able to pursue that in Rotary Org Year 21-22. And just a little recap, as of April 30th, District 5330 has 143 Rotarians enrolled in Rotary Direct. I encourage each of you to Google Rotary Direct and sign up. It only takes a couple minutes, and your contributions go straight to the Rotary Foundation when you want them to. You get to decide how much and how often you invest. And lastly, I'd like to say a big thank you to the 2020-2021 Foundation Committee members that made this year a great success despite the challenges brought on by the pandemic. Our annual funds chair, past District Governor Marilyn Sanderson, Paul Harris Society Chair Jackie Dobbins, Polio Plus Chair Laura Ahmed, Global Grants Chair, past District Governor Dr. Helene Kalfas, District Grants Chair Mary Brown, and our Endowments and Major Gifts Chair, Dick Haley, and our Global Scholarship Team, past District Governor Taco Loretta and Rod Hendry. I would also like to thank past District Rotary Foundation Chair Cheryl Peterson and the entire District Governor line for their expertise, guidance, and training. I couldn't have done this year without you. Thanks. Back to you, Dan.
Let's welcome back our District Rotary Foundation Chair, Steve Yeager.
Thanks, Dan. The Rotary Foundation recognizes individuals or couples whose combined personal or cumulative giving has reached $10,000, regardless of the gift designation. This recognition level can only be achieved through personal contributions and not through foundation recognition points. It is my honor and privilege to recognize District 5330 Rotarians that became Level 1 major donors as of May 2021 for Rotary Org Year 2021. Level 1 recognizes contributions of $10,000 to $24,999. There were 8 new major donors in District 5330 in 2020-2021. They are District Governor nominee Don Casper, Rotary Club of Indio; Joe Reyes Ceja, Rotary Club of Coachella Valley; Tom Hollenhorst, Rotary Club of Riverside; Sang Khan, Rotary Club of Indian Wells; Sue Stedding, Rotary Club of Indio; Doreen Tate, Rotary Club of Murrieta. And there were 2 additional level 1 major donors who preferred to remain anonymous. I am also honored to announce 3 Rotarians that have achieved Major Donor Level 2 as of May 2021 for Rotary Org Year 2020-2021. Level 2 recognizes contributions of $25,000 to $49,999. They are District Governor Barry Valdez and First Wife Mary, Rotary Club of Rialto; our Major Gifts Chair, Dick Haley, with the Rotary Club of Corona, who contributed a $25,000 gift to a Navajo water project in Arizona; and Dan Abushanab, Rotary Club Redland Sunrise. I would also like to recognize a District 53 Rotarian who wishes to remain anonymous that achieved Level 3 major donor status during Rotary Org Year 2020-2021. Level 3 recognizes total contributions totaling $50,000 to $99,999. District 5330 boasts 148 major donors, including Arch Clump Society, and 113 Bequest Society, Legacy Society donors. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your continued selfless giving. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Steve, for that information. I would now like to welcome our Paul Harris Society Chair from the Rotary Club of Murrieta, Jackie Dobbins.
The Paul Harris Society recognizes donors from around the world that have notified the Rotary Foundation of their intention to contribute $1,000 or more every year to the annual fund, Polio Plus, or an approved global grant. The Paul Harris Society new member inductees for Rotary Year 2019-2020 are as follows. From the Rotary Club of Corona, Richard Haley. The Rotary Club of Crestline Lake Gregory, Derek Leestra. The Rotary Club of E-Club World Peace, past District Governor Rudy Westervelt. The Rotary Club of Fontana, Larry Meyer and Indilio Sanchez. The Rotary Club of Indio, Stacy Fifield, Stephen Morgan, and Barbara Daly. The Rotary Club of Lake Arrowhead, Norton Marks, Cecilia Ponce de Leon, Michael Ponce de Leon, past District Governor Joe Ramos, and Duff Roughton. The Rotary Club of Menifee, Paul Bateman. The Rotary Club of Palm Desert, Palms to Pines, Carol Van Zandt. The Rotary Club of Palm Springs, Lauren Cook, Stuart Cross, and past District Governor Dr. Helene Kalfas. The Rotary Club of Palm Springs Sun Up, Scott Atkins, and Sin Wee Ko Gale. The Rotary Club of Paris, Pete Peterson. The Rotary Club of Redlands, Cal Boothby. The Rotary Club of Rialto, Kathleen Home and Bruce Ricker. The Rotary Club of San Jacinto, John Norman. The Rotary Club of Temecula, Cheryl Peterson and Terry Whittington. The Rotary Club of Temecula Sunrise, Christian Nason. The Rotary Club of 29 Palms, Corazon Naraval. And last but not least, the Rotary Club of Yucaipa, John Malone. Thank you for your generosity and your commitment. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Jackie, for acknowledging our newest Paul Harris Society members. Please welcome back our District Rotary Foundation Chair, Steve Yeager, as he announces our Foundation Awards.
Steve, sit down.
Hello again. I am the District Rotary Foundation Chair, and I am excited to award the Foundation Service Patch to the following clubs: Rotary Club of Arlington, Rotary Club of Beaumont, Cherry Valley, Rotary Club of Big Bear Lake, Rotary Club Cathedral City, Rotary Club Cathedral City Evening, Rotary Club Coachella East, Rotary Club Coachella Valley, Rotary Club of Colton, Rotary Club of Corona, Rotary Club of Corona Circle City, Rotary Club Crestline Lake Gregory, Rotary Club Desert Hot Springs, Rotary E-Club of San Bernardino Crossroads, Rotary E-Club of World Peace, Rotary Club of Fontana, Rotary Club of Greater Eastvale, Rotary Club of Hemet, Rotary Club of Highland, Rotary Club of Idlewild, Rotary Club of Indian Wells, Rotary Club of Indio, Rotary Club of Indio Sunrise, Rotary Club of Joshua Tree, Rotary Club of Harupa Valley, Rotary Club of La Quinta, Rotary Club of Lake Arrowhead, and Rotary Club of Lake Arrowhead Mountain Sunrise, Rotary Club of Lake Elsinore, Rotary Club of Menifee, Rotary Club of Merino Valley and Merino Valley Morning, Rotary Club of Murrieta, Rotary Club of Norco Eastvale, Rotary Club of Old Town Temecula, Rotary Club of Palm Desert, Rotary Club of Palm Desert Sunset, and Rotary Club of Palm Desert Palms to Pines, Rotary Club of Palm Springs, Rotary Club of Palm Springs Sunup, Rotary Club of Paris, Rotary Club of Rancho Mirage, Rotary Club of Redlands, Rotary Club of Redlands Sunrise, Rotary Club of Rialto, Rotary Club of Riverside, Rotary Club of Riverside East, Rotary Club of Riverside Sunrise, Rotary Club of San Bernardino, Rotary Club of San Bernardino Crossroads, Rotary Club of San Bernardino North, and Rotary Club of San Bernardino Sunset, Rotary Club of San Gorgonio Pass, Rotary Club of San Jacinto, Rotary Club of San Fronteras, Rotary Club of Temecula, Rotary Club of Temecula Sunrise, Rotary Club of Temecula Valley New Generations, Rotary Club of 29 Palms, Rotary Club of Wildemar, Rotary Club of Yucaipa, Rotary Club of Yucca Valley Sunset, and Rotary Club of Yucca Valley. And yes, if you are counting, that's every club in the district. Congratulations and a great job. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you once again, Steve. I would now like to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, past District 5330 Governor Steve Wallace. Steve was born in Redding, California, and grew up in Central Valley, a small town of 1,400 people in Northern California. In high school, Steve was bored with academics but excelled in industrial arts. From an early age, he showed a unique ability to build virtually anything just from a picture, a talent that would be very handy in his future. While in high school, Steve met his wife, Vicki. Vicki and Steve were married in 1975 in Redding, California, and have two daughters, Kelly and Christian. The Wallace family moved to Southern California in 1983, and Steve worked in numerous industries and manufacturing. In 1989, they started building their own businesses. Vicki and Steve would eventually join the Rotary Club of Lake Elsinore in March of 2000. Since that day, they have participated in projects in Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, India, Mexico, NIDs in Nigeria and India, and numerous community service projects in their community. They are major donors to the Rotary Foundation, Bequest Society members, benefactors, and Paul Harris Society members. One extremely important fact about Steve is that under his governorship, 6 presidents would eventually become governors in our district. Those governors would be past District Governor Rudy Westervelt, past District Governor Manzoor Massey, past District Governor Ricardo Taco Loretta, past District Governor Melanie Rice, District Governor Barry Valdez, and incoming District Governor Dan Goodrich. If you have any questions for Steve, please put them in the chat room, not in the Q&A section, and your questions will be answered following the presentation. Let's all welcome past District 5330 Governor Steve Wallace.
Good evening, Rotarians. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight. Give you a little history about Vicki and I, and we're going to do something kind of in the fashion of Paul Harvey. We're going to give you a little bit of the rest of the story. So Vicki and I joined Rotary, the Rotary Club of Lake Elsinore in March of 2000. And for the first 5 years in our Rotary career, we were quite bored with Rotary. We went every Wednesday morning, had breakfast and had great fellowship, attended Rotary events, but we wanted more. So we went to the International Convention in Chicago. And there we met a man named Michael Pratt from Dubuque, Iowa, and Tony Anayan from Nigeria. They were both involved in the polio effort in Nigeria. Vicki and I decided we wanted to do that. And so we searched for a polio team and found one that was headed to Nigeria. They had 2 spots left, and we were given those 2 spots. It was our first time to travel anywhere. We'd been on an occasional cruise or something like that, but we'd never done any international travel. And our first trip was to Kano, Nigeria. It was quite a shock to us. And we ended up coming back from Kano in a state of shock. And we sat down and made some decisions. At the time, we owned 4 different companies and were working very hard to develop those companies. One of them was we were a theming contractor for the Walt Disney Company. We decided to call it quits. So we called Disney, told them we quit, and we decided to sell the building that we had for that company. And we took some of that money and decided to use it for good. So we started an account with $250,000 in it, and that was our travel and humanitarian fund. So after we quit Disney, we started taking trips to different countries to help. We would go anywhere. One of our first trips was to a place called Nagaland in northeastern India. Now, we had no idea where we were going or what the climate was there or anything. Well, we found out we were at the foothills of the Himalayas in very dense jungle. There was a civil war going on there, and we had no idea. We had made a deal with a Rotary Club in Imphal, and at the 11th hour, they backed out. They were going to host water projects. And so we flew to Imphal. We get off the plane, and when the plane lands, we end up surrounded by soldiers. The plane doesn't pull up to the terminal. It pulls out in the middle of a field. And we were thinking, wow, this can't be good. Well, we still had no idea of the conditions in that area. We got off the plane and we found out our hotel had been bombed by the insurgents, so we couldn't stay there. So we found another hotel, and the next morning we started the 6.5-hour drive up to the border of Nagaland. At the border, we were met with Jeeps with machine guns. It looked like Checkpoint Charlie. We had all the proper permits to get in, but they were giving us a really hard time about going into the area. And after we finally got through, we went to the other side, and we were met by a group of Rotarians, found out that the Rotary Club there was brand new. They didn't know anything about Rotary. Nobody had ever visited them. So this was quite a deal for us to be there. The judge who signed our order was a Rotarian, our order to get in. And he said, the only reason you're standing here is because you had Rotary on your application. You're the first Westerners to cross the border since World War II. We had no idea. So we get to the area. We also find out that the Nagas were headhunters. In the news, it says up till 1938. Well, they told us that they were actually headhunting up till 1994. So it was quite an interesting area. We went to a Rotary meeting and asked for them to help us sponsor these water projects because we needed a local club to sponsor it. And they said no. And we couldn't believe it. So we had a long meeting with them and talked to them about Rotary. And at the end of the night, the president of the club was talking to different members of the club. And, we kept seeing a lot of heated arguments and stuff going on. And we thought, okay, we're done. There's no way they're going to do this. Well, they came back and said, we're going to go ahead and sponsor this program because you taught us it's the right thing to do. Well, we had no idea we were asking them to sponsor water wells for their enemies across the border. As it turned out, they did end up sponsoring them. It was quite a feat to get the two different groups together. They ended up chartering a Rotary Club in the insurgent area a couple of years later. We made 7 or 8 trips into that area. The first time it was very difficult to get in. The second time we were with Rotarian Larry Potter and Rotarian Mark Morgan. And we were told that if we went through the town of Gawadi, it would be much easier to get in. So we get to Gawadi and there's a military action going on and they're taking over the city and everybody's fleeing the city. Well, we're at the airport. We're supposed to meet a government official who we had no idea who he was. And here's all these people fleeing the area. We were wandering around the terminal for about an hour. And finally, a man runs up to us and said, Rotarians, come with me. So we get in a car with the government guy, Vicky and I. Mark and Larry get in a taxi behind us, and we start the drive to go to a bus station to get out of the city. So we get to the first checkpoint. Of course, we're in the government car. They let us through. Well, Larry and Mark aren't so successful. They stop them. They make them get out of the taxi. They search them. It kind of looks like they're going to jail. And so the government guy runs back there and clears it all up. And we get back in our cars and we go, gets to the next checkpoint, happens again. We get to the bus station, all the buses are gone. And we're seeing we're hearing lots of gunshots and we're seeing things burning. And we just know we got to get out of this town. So the government official says, well, I know of another bus station. So we were supposed to be on these luxury Volvo sleeper buses to take the all-night trip up the mountain to Dimapur. So he takes us into the slums and we get to this beat up, rundown bus station. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Romancing the Stone with the bus with the chickens and the goats on it and this old beat up clunker. That was our bus. So we get on the bus and Vicky and I are told to sit in the front seats. Larry and Mark sit behind us and we start our trip up the hill. So as we're going up the hill, we turn around and look back and we see Larry and Mark have both taken sleeping pills and they're both sleeping away like babies. And Vicky and I are just wide-eyed watching all this stuff happening. And the driver of the bus was in a glass room in front of us. And in with him was 3 or 4 men just kind of mulling around in this glass room. Well, during the trip up the mountain, all of a sudden they open the engine cover and they lower one of the guys down by his legs to work on the transmission. So it was all night we were wide awake watching all this stuff happening. We get into Dimapur and we get it to the edge of the town and we're stopped by the military. And a guy walks up and taps his rifle barrel on my window and goes, "Come with me." And so we said, "Larry, Mark, wake up, we're going to jail." We didn't have permits to be there. So we got off the bus and he's escorting us to the police station. And our friend Sancho comes running down the street, "Permits, I have the permits." And so it avoided us going to jail. It was quite an adventure. And we've had many adventures in Rotary. We've been shot at before. We've been detained by military police. We faced an angry mob in Uganda. It's been a real adventure in Rotary. But the things that were accomplished by Rotarians of District 5330 were absolutely amazing. In that area of Nagaland, 65 water catch basins were built. And these are big water tanks that the runoff from natural springs would go into and supply water to the different villages. We did an orphanage project there where there was a grandmother who adopted 65 orphans. In Nagaland, if you were an orphan, you were nothing. You had no last name. You couldn't apply for any assistance. And so she would adopt these kids, give them her last name and put them into school. And they needed our help. But once we spent some time with them, we found they had all the tools to do what they needed to survive and to flourish, but they just didn't know how to do it. So we did several trips there and taught them how to do different things. There were Rotarians from District 5330 sponsored kids in the orphanage, and we bought them books and musical instruments and things so that they could advance. They actually started a pig farm and were very successful. And then they did a chicken farm and were very successful, started making furniture and greeting cards and all things that they had the tools and the knowledge to do, they just didn't know how to do it. So we helped them with that. Also through a Rotary matching grant, we were able to get an ambulance for the area. They had no ambulances at all. And so with the help of several Rotary clubs, we were able to get an ambulance for that area. Made one heck of a difference in their lives. And now during those trips to Nagaland, we also went to the PACE school, and many of you have heard of Depot Willingham and the PACE school in Piali Junction. Through matching grants, we were able to provide furniture for the school, books, school supplies, after-school programs, buy sewing machines for their education vocational program for the parents. It made one heck of an impact. Also, Rotarians from District 5330 sponsored girls to the school. These girls would have never had a chance to advance in the society. Basically, we found out firsthand. Our little girl who we sponsored for several years, ended up her parents sold her. And that was a really common practice. So she was gone. We couldn't find her. We tried to get her back and we couldn't. So by all your donations and your sponsorships, you were able to help these girls stay in school and get ahead and stop this type of tragedy from happening. Now, in 2006, PDG Mark Howison and PDG Dr. Helene Kalfas had a great idea to involve the district, the entire district, in a large humanitarian project. And we set out on an adventure to visit 5 countries and look at 5 different projects in 40 days. And we ended up in Uganda at Odoro Village. And we chose that particularly because that was the only place that didn't have their hand out, that didn't have an agenda before we got there. These people were starving. They were dying from drinking contaminated water. they had just pretty much resolved that this is just as good as it gets. And that was the way their life was going to be. Well, it took us a while to negotiate with them. They didn't trust us. You know, we were some of the first outsiders they had seen ever. And so we told them to start with, we will give them 10 water wells if they dig 10 latrines. They had to have a big meeting with the village elders to decide whether this was a good deal. And they came back to us and said, we will accept your deal. In reality, they didn't think we were ever coming back. So we started working on the project. We got a matching grant for the 10 water wells, and they started digging the latrines. Well, by the time we got the matching grant together for the latrines, for the water wells, they had dug 30 latrines, and it did that in good faith. And we came in and started putting in the water wells. While we were there, we also found that there were 13 borehole wells that had been put in years before, and they were basically supposed to be cared for by the government, and they were all broken. And so we talked to the government, and we said, you know, it's your responsibility to fix this. Why don't we get these fixed? They said the people use them too much, so we will not fix them. So we took it upon ourselves to get these fixed. And so now the village had fresh water. Before that time, they were drinking out of a mud puddle. And it was 2,500 people in the village drinking contaminated water. They weren't boiling it in any way because the firewood was like gold. I mean, they didn't have much firewood in the area. And so they would cook their meal and extinguish the fire. And boiling water was not a necessity to them. So they were sick with typhoid and waterborne diseases. The entire village was. This kind of put us in a direction where, you know, we thought we could really make a difference with this village. They were awful at agriculture. They couldn't grow enough, to sustain life. They really didn't have any livestock. They didn't have any tools to garden with. So we started putting together matching grants, and it started to make a big difference in the village. In those matching grants, it was over the 10 years that we were in Odaworld Village, it was approximately $120,000 between the matching grants and contributions from Rotarians. It really made an impact on this village. We started by repairing boreholes, then we did water salvaging, where we would put in water tanks and harvest rainwater. It got them so that they could sustain life there. And we kept doing matching grants until the new global grant system came along. Once that global grant system came along, we thought, you know, we could do something that would encompass all 7 areas of focus and really make an impact. So we put together a global grant, and that grant was for $112,000. It was $112,568 to be exact. In that grant, we were able to teach the locals how to take care of their own boreholes. We bought them the tools to do that. We sent them to school so they could learn how to do that. We sent 40 farmers to a organic farm to learn how to farm. They were so bad at it because many years prior, they had been raided by a group called the Karamanjone. And the Karamanjone basically wiped out the population. Anybody who knew anything about farming had been killed or had run off and not come back. So they were very poor at agriculture. So we got them involved in that. And then in that grant, we also bought them seeds, high quality seeds. We bought them orange trees, beehives, oxen carts, plows, oxen, quality seed, and solar lighting. It was something that they really, really needed. It changed their lives. We made a total of 38 trips to Uganda, and in between 2005 and 2010 or 2015. In that time, I saw a noticeable change in the village. The villages were smiling again. They didn't look like they were starving. They were starting to produce food, and they were showing up at the local market and selling food, something that hadn't been done there in years. It made a huge impact on their lives. We did an eye clinic, and we found that many of the kids had cataracts. The government will pay for cataract surgery, but they won't pay to get you to the hospital to get that surgery. So we put together a fund to get the kids to the hospital so they could have the cataract surgeries. We also, the Rotary Club of Lake Elsinore, did a program where they collected eyeglasses, and we had them all cleaned and the prescriptions read, and we took those eyeglasses with us so that we could distribute them with an eye doctor in Uganda. It made a huge impact on the kids at school. Now, some really great things that happened there were very memorable to us. We spent Thanksgiving in Uganda with Barry and Mary, and it was really special because we invited the staff of the hotel to join us and participate in our Thanksgiving celebration. We celebrated with turkey jerky, and we had dried potatoes, and I took a jar of gravy, and we had some fruit, and we got the hotel staff to spend time with us and enjoy the Thanksgiving, and it was such a special Thanksgiving for us. Also, at one point, we decided that we were going to have a football game with the kids from the village, and football being soccer. So we challenged the local team to a football tournament. We get there and we see these guys that they look like pros, and we're a bunch of old people out there on the field, and these guys are just going to absolutely kill us. Well, they dummied down their game, and we spent the next hour on the field playing a very wonderful soccer game. The great part of it was this was during harvest time, when nobody goes away from harvesting, because that's where they get their food. 1,000 people showed up to see this game, and there was laughing and fun, and the opposing team, like I say, dummied down their game. So we ended up, after an hour, we called the game, and it was a tie. We had such a great time, and it was such a great thing for the village. They talked about it for several years after. Now, many Rotarians have been to the village. We've taken many visitors with us. PDG Rich and Sue Delacqua, PDG Mark and Barbara Howison, Rotarians Jerry and Paula Porter, PDG Dr. Helene Kalfas and Leonard, Rotarians Jimmy Shea and Jim Ott, Rotarian Jackie Valdez, and Rotary scholar Vanessa Contopoulos was also there, as well as, I don't know if I mentioned Governor Valdez and his wife. It was such a great thing to share this program with them. The program was so recognized that the United Nations Development Program asked if they could take over the project. And we kindly declined because we were early on in the project and we had a direction that we knew we wanted to go. But they saw the potential of what we were doing and tried to get involved in it. Also, at the Rotary International Convention, we built an entire Ugandan village, and Rotary donated the space for us to display this village at the Montreal Convention. It was a huge hit, and it showed a sampling of what life was like in a Ugandan village. So all these things made a huge impact, and every club in District 5330 was part of this project. Every club gave something, whether it was DDF or cash contributions or sponsorships. It made a huge impact on this village. Now, one of the things that we really were passionate about was education. The government schools were awful. They had no books. They had teachers would show up randomly. We had a meeting with the teachers and we said, what's going on? Well, the government wasn't paying them like they were supposed to. They had no supplies. They couldn't teach without supplies. So we went out and we bought learning books. We went out and bought their workbooks. We had soccer balls so that they could have some physical education. We put together a program to reward the teachers for coming there to teach. And then we got to thinking that, there's some really bright kids in this school, and none of them were going on to higher education. None of them were advancing at all. They would go through basically the primary school and end up in the fields, and there was no way to really break that cycle. So we put together a program to take the smartest kids from the village of all different age levels and put them in private schools. And we were a little concerned about how that would go because we didn't know their education level. Some of it was taught in English and the kids only spoke Teso. It was quite a challenge. But I'm proud to say the kids absolutely flourished at this program. They some of them ended up being at the top of their class. They advanced through the program and were advancing every year at the top of their class. We were so proud of them. And so we started looking for schools that could further their education. And we found learning academies that were very high academics. Well, that wasn't for all the kids. Some of the kids had more vocational goals. And we got with Lord's Mead Vocational School and put some of the kids in the vocational school. They learned how to make furniture. They learned how to sew, how to cook. There were several different vocations that some of them wanted to do. One of the young men that Vicki and I followed regularly was Sam. And Sam, he wanted to be an auto mechanic. There were no auto mechanics at Lord's Mead. So we found another vocational school close by that offered auto mechanics. And Sam went through the program, graduated, and we actually went to his work to see him working as an auto mechanic. And he was so happy that he had been given the opportunity to do that. Some of the kids in the vocational program became cabinet makers, and they would go to the village and make furniture for villagers and use their craft to help the village. One of the great things about being able to advance the kids in their education is they bring the knowledge back to the village. It really makes a difference in the lives. The kids have something to look forward to. The parents are so proud of their kids. We ended up putting 27 kids into the program, and we made an agreement with the village that we will stand by your kids as long as they keep their grades up and they do the right thing. We will put them all the way through school. So currently we have 14 kids left in the program. Many have graduated, some have dropped out because they didn't do the right thing. But through the donations of Rotarians in District 5330 and sponsorships, we've been able to put the kids through school, and it is making a huge impact on their lives. This was 10 years of Rotary that Vicki and I really cherish. We spent time learning cultures as in our travels, and we learned about different religions, and we met with people all over the world that we still keep in contact with. And we would have never had that opportunity if it wasn't for the idea of trying to do a district-wide project. So I want to thank Mark and Helene for giving us that opportunity, and all the Rotarians who supported the project over the years. You've truly made a difference in people's lives. So with that, I can open it up for questions, I guess.
Thank you, Steve, for that great presentation. We have a few minutes for Steve to answer questions from the chat, so let's welcome back Elizabeth Gibbs to facilitate those questions.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Steve. Wow, very impressive what you and Vicki have done for the Odawara Village community. And I'm wondering what lies ahead for the village? What plans have been made after the education project? Are there any other projects on the horizon that Rotarians can help with?
Well, currently, I haven't been back into Uganda for several years, and basically because of issues in Uganda with government issues and that type of thing, we have been trying to get a maternity ward outfitted in the village, and I think it's just the deal's kind of fallen apart. But that was something that we really wanted to get done. Vicki and I visited a local clinic there, and it was basically the maternity ward was a closet. And we went to the Minister of Health in Uganda, and the Ugandans were actually horrified that we would go to the Minister of Health's office and talk to him. They said it just wasn't done. So we ended up going to the Minister of Health's office and knocking on the door and said, "Hi, I'm Steve Wallace from Lake Elsinore, California. I'd like to see the Minister of Health." And after a short time, the door opened, they invited us in, and it turned out that he had done his residency at Loma Linda University. And so it was Old Home Week. We got to talking and told him about the lack of the doctors at the clinic and the lack of a maternity ward. Well, a few years later, up pops a brand new maternity ward. Nice, beautiful building, but it wasn't completely outfitted. That is probably the next area of focus that they need help with. They seem to have control of the agriculture. We do keep in contact with what's going on there. They are much healthier than they ever were before, and we think that might be an avenue that would really help them.
Thank you. Another question: what inspired you and Vicki to be so focused and dedicated?
It was really what we saw in Nigeria. When we got there, the poverty was just unbelievable. We would see kids digging through garbage, to get the scraps before the goats got them, so they had something to eat. And open sewers, running down the roads. And every night they would set the garbage on fire, and so the whole city smelled like burnt garbage. And we just decided that, we can do something about this. And we had the means to do it. And so we decided that was the avenue we were going to take. And we basically told our kids, we're spending your inheritance, so deal with it. And, we went there to anywhere anybody wanted us to go, we would go. We were invited to go to Pakistan to immunize for polio. And our friend Khalid wanted us to come there to show American support to the Pakistanis. Well, the week before we were supposed to go, the Taliban started shooting polio immunizers. And Khalid said, no, come, we'll protect you. And while we weren't worried about ourselves, we were worried about his family. So we declined and we said, we can't do it, and we just absolutely can't come. But one of the things I left out that I'd really like to share is we did a polio vaccination trip to northern India near the Pakistan border. We got into the town and we were immunizing kids, and you could tell they did not want us there. They did not like us. The men were standing on the street corners with their arms folded, staring us down, and the women would peek out from behind the doors in the houses, and if we made eye contact, they'd slam the door. And so there was kids everywhere. So I started playing with the kids, and I started getting them to chant "No More Polio." And pretty soon I had 200 or 300 kids in the street, and we were doing a parade up and down the street chanting "No More Polio." And pretty soon the men on the street corners were laughing and having a good time, and the women opened the doors. And we had a man come up and say, ask us if we would come to his home for tea. And my polio team was just exhausted. And they said, let's just go home. And I said, this is the most important cup of tea you'll ever drink. So we went to this man's house, spent time with his family. It was a wonderful experience. In that time, we found a little girl that he knew about. He took us to this home, and he said she had polio. Well, one of the doctors we had with us looked at her, and he said, it's not polio. It's a nervous disorder. We can fix this. And so through that cup of tea, we changed this little girl's life.
Wow. The things that Rotary does for people around the world. Well, thank you, Steve. We appreciate you being here with us tonight. And there's a lot of people in the chat room that wish you and Vicki well. You are the epitome of great Rotarians, and we are honored that you represent District 5330 overseas. We appreciate it again, and I'm going to turn it over to our District Governor, Barry.
Wow. Steve, if you were here in person, there'd be a standing ovation. Talk about true Rotarians. Steve and Vicki, thank you for everything.
Welcome.
You now know how Steve motivated his club presidents. Again, I want to thank BDG Steve Wallace for that wonderful presentation. And not many of us would have survived those adventures. Thank you again, Steve.
Thank you.
Now you guys know why Ottawa Village is so special to myself and my wife. All right, moving forward now. I want to thank the members of the Foundation Committee for all their hard work this year. It's been a difficult year, but they seem to have rose to the challenge, and I thank you. Just a reminder that we will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the district conference portion of the weekend. We will have another exciting program for you. Remember, all foundation contributions donated during the virtual event this weekend will be matched up to 500 points. To donate, please tell us in the chat section. I want to thank our host for tonight, Dan Cortez. And Dan, back to you. Maybe.
Thank you everyone for attending tonight's District 5330 Foundation Gala. We will see you tomorrow at the district conference. Have a great night.